everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome. My name is Becky Sequire, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, White Bear Lake area. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan volunteer organization that encourages citizens to participate in government. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. We are nonpartisan. We do not support or oppose any candidate or political party at any level of government. Our local league is one of 34 across Minnesota. Before we start the program, I would like to take a minute to share our land acknowledgement statement. The League of Women Voters of White Bear Lake area acknowledges that the land we are on is the traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homeland of the Dakota and Anishinaabe peoples. We recognize that Indigenous peoples have experienced loss of their homeland and threats to their culture. Despite these circumstances, the resilience of the Dakota and Anishinaabe peoples is apparent as they reclaim their land and their culture. They are our neighbors, and they're sharing their stories. We pledge to listen, to learn, and to advocate for their rights. Tonight, we are gathered to learn about navigating uncertainty in the complex role of county commissioners. Former Ramsey County Commissioner Dr. Victoria Reinhardt was scheduled to lead our discussion. Unfortunately, she is not able to be with us tonight. And we do have the next best thing, her talented and capable husband. For those of you who know him as JP, his name is actually James Patrick Baroni. He retired after serving as a Minnesota Assistant Attorney General for 32 years. He has served on the boards of directors of dozens of community and nonprofit organizations. As a volunteer, JP has served on political committees at the county, state, and national level and has co-chaired hundreds of political conventions with Victoria. He tells his grandchildren that his hobby is going to meetings. So we are grateful that he was willing to join us tonight. Please give a warm welcome to JP.
Thank you very much. I have not had much time to prepare. No, I've got very little to do here, but I do want to thank you for the kind introduction and to say that the only real famous thing that I am known for is as the husband of the Honorable Commissioner, Dr. Victoria Reinhardt, as I have to call her at home. Just want to say, I feel like the understudy coming in for the Broadway star, but you've got great people are the center of attention here. Victoria's recovering fine. She's had a bout of vertigo, but she's going to be out and about in a few days, but not quite by today. So now let's meet the people you came here to hear from, the real county commissioners of Ramsey and Washington County. I'm here honored to introduce these people. I've known them all in many different settings in many different ways. So none of us will admit where all we've seen each other. But we will start off. We have Tara Jebin Singh, Ramsey County Commissioner District 1. Kelly Miller, Ramsey County Commissioner District 7. Fran Mirren, Washington County Commissioner District 1. Stan Karowski, Washington County Commissioner District 2. And Carla Bigham, Washington County Commissioner District 4. So welcome them all because they're the stars that are here. Okay, this is an open forum where they will, in order except for one question, we've got a little more timed, talk about 6 different questions that have been predetermined to cover the major issues. I will ask the first question, and whoever wants to start can start, and everyone wants to follow up, and you can fill in for each other. And here is the basic thing. What is something commissioners in your county deal with that most of your constituents do not realize is even part of your job? So, whoever wants to start on that one. I didn't know they were shy.
There. Operating a microphone, right? I don't think most people realize the number of joint power boards and committees that county commissioners serve on. They see us on Tuesday at our board meeting, but outside of that, they really don't know what we do. And I kind of scared Commissioner Bingham because she thought I brought these as notes tonight. But I just wanted to share this because it was in my vehicle. These were the background information for the 2 meetings I attended today. So, you know, and most of these pages are double-sided. So, you know, I don't think most people realize how much information we have to absorb, how much we read, and prepare for the various joint power boards and meetings that we belong to.
Each table gets its own mic, so go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'll back that up and say also the idea that we kind of sit in the middle of like an hourglass shape. So we represent not only our districts and all of the residents within our county at a lot of different entities, but also we represent and are part of the executive area of running a large enterprise. We have about 4,000 employees in Ramsey County and any multitudes of programs and departments. And so we have a responsibility to not only representing the community, but making sure we're doing right by the people who are doing work in our name. And that's often a really challenging balance. And in order to do that, we spend not only all that time reading, but continually building relationships internally and externally, and then being that kind of connective tissue between community and the people who are doing the work in the county.
I'll take a shot at it now. I'm going to name some really abstract things that you may not know the county's control. Actually, I think a lot of people don't really realize much what the county does. I get asked, I wish we had $1 every time they ask, what do you do as a commissioner, or what's the county do? But here's some things we do that I think are kind of, even if you're serving, you kind of go, wow, we do that. Naming and renaming lakes. We actually had one in Commissioner Miron's district that had a negative Indian connotation to it that we renamed a few years ago. And then we renamed a creek near Lake Elmo Park Reserve. Then mining permits, approvals for townships. And then there's committees, as Commissioner Miron pointed out, because he serves on a few of these, mosquito control, solid waste, emergency radio system. I'll leave it at that, but those are things people aren't thinking about.
I mean, you guys are hitting the nail right on the hammer there. Or maybe I said that backwards. I was just going to name a few things as well. Like a lot of people think like property taxes, roads, but it's a lot of also social service delivery services, right? Like child protection, veteran services, public health. You know, some of the like detox right now, we're doing that, but like mental health as well. So a lot of the human services that we touch point, and then it's a lot of coordination behind the scenes as well between us, between providers, between our staff. It's a lot of trying to balance the state and federal mandates, manage really complex budgets, and just making sure that our departments, they work efficiently together and with community.
So wonderful answers. I'm going to peel it back just a little bit. I also think that the public, it's very confusing, the various levels of what the county does versus like the state. For example, daycare centers are regulated by DHS, the Department of Human Services, but residential daycare centers are regulated by counties. Then libraries. This is a county library. City of St. Paul has a city library. And so those are examples, I think, of the complexity that, the nuance that adds to a confusion of what a county commissioner does. And, you know, I just think there's also the fact that we administer things. We're a pass-through, we are the worker bee level of government. We don't pay for it, but we get stuck paying for the bill that isn't covered by the level of government, whether it's the federal or the state. That isn't covered, what we administer, the tab. So I guess just kind of add on to that nuance.
Okay, thank you. We've agreed for the next question, since it has 4 parts, to be a little more structured than the open panel. So we're going to kind of go down the line and give each about a minute. We're doing great on time, so feel free, but here it is. We're going to take these one issues at a time of 4 major issues that the county does address. And so on the first issue, how is your county addressing, first one, the aging infrastructure concerns? I'm going to start here with Tara, and we'll go down, and then the next one we'll start with Kelly and go around, okay?
Well, first, I know Kelly will answer some of this too, but one of the things that's really helpful in Ramsey County, we do have a AAA bond rating, so that allows us to really leverage that financial position when we're bonding for projects, which is super helpful. And I would just say, along with that, we rely on some plans that we put into place that have a lot of community and resident focus input on. So we have like our transportation improvement program plan and other kinds of plans that help us in making the decisions to making the long-term infrastructure decisions that we need to make.
I will just add, alongside that, like we also have a capital improvement plan and a capital improvement advisory board as well that helps drive the goals and the plans for, or, updating the infrastructure. But I mean, overall, our infrastructure is in pretty good shape. Ramsey County does a great job at reusing or rehabbing, redeveloping existing buildings we have. Like the Environmental Center was the first building that we built in a very long time. A building in downtown St. Paul or Metro Square that was refurbished, redeveloped, redesigned, right? So I think it's a lot of working together with cities also and other local governments to make sure that we can align our projects so to be more, to really be more efficient and save the cost as well.
Washington County's infrastructure is in really, really good shape, and that's been a historic job of county commissioners for a long time prior to my time on the board here 13 years ago. Even our historic courthouse in Stillwater, which dates back to the 1800s, is well maintained and taken care of. To Commissioner Miller's point, we do have a CIP. It's a 5-year CIP, and we've got a public hearing coming up soon, a capital improvement program. And sorry, we use acronyms and need to explain that. As we develop our capital improvement plan, we put that out for public comment. So we get comments from the public on it. We get comments from the cities on it as to areas of improvement that they think we need. And then we finance that. We make sure that our capital improvement plan is fully funded, and we do a lot of work. I think more recently, we had an opportunity to do some extra work with the American Rescue Plan dollars that were made available to Washington County, and we appropriated those for a lot of upgrades to our facilities, mainly the circulatory air movement within buildings and that type of thing for improved health. But that's one of the things that we did that was special recently.
I'll continue on. The capital improvement plan is mentioned often, and I just wanted to add a little bit of extra insight in that. So each year the counties reevaluate that, and you push it out another year to make it always 5 years, but you're looking at strategically when you time those expenditures based on really the critical need if something's wearing out. But the key is to really invest. Part of that is to really invest in maintenance, not only of your buildings and roads. We have a rating on our roads that give us, the professional engineers that give us a rating that where to invest in them, for you don't have to have the bigger cost of replacing the road later. One interesting thing that I think we invest in Washington County, and we're still about 50% rural, agricultural, and we have a lot of lakes and open spaces, is investing, aging. You think of in the environment, whether it's properties and parks, they do age, and I think we make investments in our parks, and that's they also age. You wouldn't think of that. And then we're always pushing the state and federal, because we all pay income taxes, and we want to get a return back to whether it's Ramsey County or Washington County. You kind of get your share back, and that helps us invest in those buildings. An example of that is with the capital improvement plan. We invest, I think, $2 million in our historic courthouse, It's the oldest one there. We thought it was a state valued investment. A few years earlier, Dakota County and their historic courthouse got several million. For whatever reason, it's not fair. We didn't get any, but we're going to continue on and invest in protecting that landmark.
I think one of the most expensive things right now for local government is technology. Between cyber attacks and just cyber security, it's front of mind for everyone. And we have a technology plan of how we upgrade our computers, our servers, printers, and all of that. And I think that is very smart to make sure you are staying very modern with that and up to date on that, because I say this every year when the IT department comes before us to do their budget. You know, people can choose to go to, you know, any different store, whether it's Target or Amazon or whatever, to purchase something. They can't go anywhere else to pay their property taxes if they want to pay it with a credit card. And so we have to be very secure and mindful with that transaction. You know, if they want to get a marriage license or they want to file something with the county or their driver's license, I mean, they can go to a private person, you know, to do that. But you just want to make sure that you're being very protective of the data. And really, governments are the target right now of these malicious bad intenders, if you will, and so wrongdoers. And so it's important that we stay up to date on all of the technology and cyber issues. And so my colleagues did a really good job of highlighting the capital improvement plan and everything like that. The other issue I would say that I think do a really good job in Washington County is not putting everything on our levy. We do user fees that I think for people that obviously they are what they say they are, they're user fees. Like our environmental charge, county environmental charge, you know, goes towards our environmental service centers and different things like that versus going on our levy. So I just think that helps with our infrastructure for our environmental side of things.
Thank you. Now, the next of the four major issues, how is your county addressing homelessness and affordable housing? And also, what do your constituents need to know about both homelessness and affordable housing? We'll start with Commissioner Miller and go around.
Perfect. So, Ramsey County, we take a coordinated approach to addressing homelessness through our Ramsey County, so our Heading Home Ramsey. And so that is we partner alongside cities, nonprofit, healthcare providers in the state to make sure people get connected to the resources they need. We think of it as our continuum of care. We also have a coordinated entry system that helps youth, families, and single adults access shelter and housing services based on their specific needs. We also, during winter months, we run programs like winter warming spaces with partnerships and with the local nonprofits or some churches as well. Partner shelters. We have 2 family shelters that partner with the county to provide family homelessness. We also have various partners that provide single adult shelters and youth. And then our homeless assistance response team, or our HEART team, they work with unsheltered individuals and actually go out into encampments to provide these services. At the same time, though, we're also focused on prevention, because that's a part of the continuum of care, right, is prevention, if they're unsheltered, and then to get them sheltered and then on through there. So prevention is like really about helping families with eviction, helping families avoid being homeless. And we have programs like the Family Homelessness Prevention and Assistance Program, and we continue to invest in affordable and supportive housing options as well. But everything we do is really guided by data and equity, right? Like we want to make sure that we're using our information and our so we follow an annual point in time count that tells us, who's in our shelters, who needs these services, and that's really our strategy that drives the work as well.
I'm fortunate to serve on our community development agency, so I've been assigned that duty by the board. And we utilize both state and federal funding along with levy that the CDA initiates to provide affordable housing within Washington County. And that program works very, very well. We have a great staff there, and all of that work is guided by a strategic plan and a board of another 4 individuals that serve on that. Let's see, is it 4, 6 individuals, and then myself that serve on that board. You know, we work with developers, we work in creative ways with financing to build affordable housing and make sure that that affordable housing is available for years into the future. We also work with affordable workforce housing, so we make sure that our workforce has housing in Washington County, and then work with the homeless as well. And that's a story that I'm going to let one of the other commissioners share.
Want me to continue on?
Let's go around. Let's do it in an arc.
Okay. Yeah, homeless and affordable housing. I think you're going to see not only in these questions we've had, but the questions ahead, there's going to be a lot of similarities in how Ramsey and Washington County handle it. Our magnitude of the problem might be different, our environments might be different, but a lot of the processes and the approaches are the same. We utilize a metro sales tax for housing. That was a big help. That's, I believe, relatively new. As Commissioner Miron is our representative on the Community Development Authority, we're going to leverage the expertise of the CDA, the Community Development Authority, as a county board. We pass most of our investments to housing over to them, and they really concentrate on housing. We're really proud of a new 30-unit. I really like to get away from calling people that are struggling with housing as homeless. I like to call it emergency housing, so that you're working on because I think calling someone homeless seems more permanent. It's kind of demeaning, where it's really emergency housing, where you're trying to develop a plan for they can get on their feet and have permanent housing. But we have a 30-unit emergency housing going near our government center in Stillwater. We're quite proud of that. And it's going to be opening here in about a week. And we've got a limit on, I think, 60 or 90 days, and then we find them an alternative housing that's more permanent. We've also started in Washington County, it's called a host team. It's a housing support team, so people on our staff that have expertise helping people struggling with housing. And then working with partners. I think we're always looking for more partners, especially the CDA private partners that can help draw down the cost of making housing affordable. Two Rivers is a model I really like, where Two Rivers owns the land, and then that's subtracted from the mortgage. So someone that's kind of a working person that just needs a start. The visual is a $300,000 home, but if the land's $75,000, they come in at $225,000. Now with some down payment and stuff, I really like that model because it's self-sustaining.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say our CDA is our greatest tool and our greatest asset. It's also our planning. In Newport, for example, we are starting our it's under construction, third workforce housing building at our transit center, which is reopening on December 10th, by the way, after being mothballed during the pandemic, because we are going to be starting a circulator in January through DARTS, which is helpful to get the workforce housing area that is in Newport, Red Rock Square, 1, 2, and 3. So we're starting the third at the insistence, actually, of the city of Newport, because of how good our CDA is. The other one in Cottage Grove is Blue Stem, which just won a national award for being the first in Washington County, it might have been in the Twin Cities, for super senior affordable. That's legit the title of the level of housing. And that is an area that is becoming more and more of a necessity. And so it is something that I think we're extremely dialed in on. And the other thing that I would say is that I think it's a priority for everyone on the board, but I'm going to brag about District 4 because I think the city of Cottage Grove has just been such an open arm willing partner with going out and getting matching funds and accepting funds to have affordable housing, workforce housing, mixed in with different options for housing, and I think that's the best way to do it. And now we have to make sure that we have the transit options and the sustainable workforce to be able to provide for that. I'm very excited about the emergency housing service building. I would just add to my colleagues' comments that we're going to have employees in the building to help with wraparound services to assist with the 90-day max so that they can have permanency.
I would just build on all of those things. There's some version of them in both of our counties, and to build off of what Commissioner Bingham just said, that the importance of our municipal partners and our community partners. So we use our HRA, or Housing Redevelopment Authority dollars, to partner with local municipalities to be able to invest in communities in affordable and deeply affordable housing. But also, I think of the ecosystem of providers that support and surround families to kind of move upstream to avoid issues where they have instability in their housing. Our partners in community really, especially I will say, the density of the issue, or the magnitude of the issue of people having insecure housing or being without a home, is different in the northern suburbs than it is in the St. Paul proper. And it's not unusual for me to have a mayor or a city administrator calling directly about a specific individual or a specific family and having the community be able to wrap around it. So it's a little different conversation in our districts. But I also want to say I'm very proud of the work that Ramsey County has done to address economic disparities that have happened over historical inequities in the way that policies have lifted up or not individuals and families in our workforce development and other kind of initiatives, and also in the way that we're addressing and supporting families and individuals, whether it comes to behavioral health or social services, keeping families together, and all of the things that go along with that. And one of the things that I'd like us to see more of is supportive housing for individuals who need a little extra of that wraparound services, where it's not just an economic challenge that they're facing.
Thank you. Now, the third of the four specific questions, where we're going to start with Commissioner Myron. We'll let Washington County go first, and then Ramsey on our little cycle we're doing for this part of it. What is your county doing specifically regarding supporting transit, including all types like bicycles, pedestrians, etc.?
Yeah, every capital improvement project related to a road, we look at the needs for biking and walking and those types of things. We've got long-range plans with respect to the various trails. We're connecting our regional park system with trails. We have some of the more popular trails in the state of Minnesota, the Hardwood Creek Trail in particular, that runs parallel to Highway 61 and goes all the way up to Sunrise. So, we're continually focused on that. We continue to take a look at lake links and the effort there. We're working closely with Delwood and trying to help them manage with a small staff how that trail might be extended through their community. So we take a lot of public input on those plans. We're planning, improvements for Highway 96, so that might interest many of you here in Ramsey County and White Bear Lake. And, you know, there's talk about whether or not a trail would fit into that. And then if in fact we do, then how does that tie in with potentially Lake Links Trail and the work that Delwood and Matamidi is doing?
Are we going just in the circle? Okay. Again, to expand on this thought of transit, bike, and pedestrians as the focus of this question, we're really proud, I think, Ramsey and Washington County, of our joint effort here in March. We opened the Gold Line Bus Rapid Transit. First transit system to Washington County. It goes through the east side of St. Paul, which I grew up on. Very proud of that. $500 million on time, on budget. So that's really going to be a part of the puzzle for the future. And no levy dollars. There's really a quarter of 1 cent. 1 cent on every $4 spent, whether it's in Ramsey or Washington County. Ours is going to be paid off in July. Our contribution in each county was about $125 million. Also, because of that project had so much positive going with it, 80% of it's in its own guideway. I mean, it's got its own dedicated line. So it operates like light rail. But because the project was so good on its own merit, we got $27 million worth of extra investment shared amongst Ramsey and Washington County. Much of that went into trails that either tied into communities or was along the route. In Washington County, we have a priority on roads and trails. We use a 1/2 cent sales tax. That's partly where that quarter cent came from for the Gold Line. One of the trails I want to tout, it's relatively new, through Washington County, east to west. We really want to tie in with the Battle Creek Park, Battle Creek Regional Park. That's really an exciting, again, that was my playground growing up, Battle Creek, but that's a great park. But, you know, these trails and roads and transit really goes across county lines. So we partner a lot with Ramsey County. When people are driving their car on that trail, on that bus, they aren't thinking, oh, I just left Washington County, you know, in Ramsey County. They just want a good trail. Another trail, we've got a Central Greenway Trail. It's a vision of Washington County. It's our county is 44 miles long. It's about 10 miles wide. So it's going from Commissioner Bigham's territory in the south, from Point Douglas Road, kind of near the confluence of the Mississippi and the St. Croix, up through in the middle of the county. It goes through Lake Elmo Park Reserve and then goes up to Commissioner Miron's district up in the northern part. It ends up at Big Marine Park. It doesn't go through District 2, but I'm getting over it. And that's the thing, too, is we as commissioners, we have districts, but we're looking and working on things together and investing where it makes the most sense. And then lastly, we're working on circulator buses as a high priority, whether they're in communities or to connect to the Gold Line. That's our emphasis with transit.
And those circulators are very important with our existing partners that provide the service, which is economical for us and has consistent service for the folks that use it. So that is a benefit. So we're going to be adding a day to each of the service providers that already exist for us. And that's a big deal for my area because the food shelf is in St. Paul Park, but the service is existing right now in Cottage Grove. So now we're going to be able to expand it to allow that circulator to expand so that it can get into St. Paul Park and Newport to be able to go to that transit center that I already mentioned and the food shelf for the whole southern part. So that'll be good. And then also, not breaking news, but it's been talked about that we're going to reopen the Newport Transit Center because we're going to be getting public transportation for the first time from the East Metro to the West Metro out to the airport into the Mall of America. And that is big. And yes, it's going to be huge. And that is because of the Gold Line and the work of Commissioner Karwoski and Ramsey County's partnership. And that is a big deal. It starts in Woodbury, it's going to drop down to Newport. And then, that's a jobs thing, and that's being able to get people safely to the airport. So, on top of all the trail work that we're doing, I want to mention that again. I want to give a shout out to our local partners because a lot of that connects to some of the city trails, but they're a very necessary partner. We just were in Stillwater, hearing about the needs for, is that Hardwood Creek or Browns Creek?
No, it's the Gateway.
Gateway Trail, which is already mentioned. But the mayor of Stillwater was going on about that and the need for it. And so that helps with tourism, but it also helps like with public safety. They need to be able to access when things go wrong on the trails or get down there. They need to be able to have a safe way to get to help people as well. And so anyway, our I just wanted to highlight the connection again with our local partners on that, and watersheds. Watersheds prefer to have that as well.
And I'm gonna just say yes to all of that, and then also, the heart of all of this is the community members and how you all utilize our trails and whether that's walking or biking or rolling or driving. And so, one of the things that's really important for all of us, I'm sure, but I just want to highlight because it hasn't really been brought up yet, is how you all can contribute to how the counties react to and make sure that we center what you need in your neck of the woods. So, one of the things is I have a monthly regular call with our public works director, and it's a chance for us to be able to say, hey, I was talking to somebody in the grocery store, and they're worried about that crosswalk on 96 in front of the library. And so those conversations that you have with us really do make a difference. It's not just the greasy wheel gets the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but it's more along the lines of you will allow us to make sure to highlight where we need to do some additional studying to make sure that traffic patterns are still, up to date and things like that. And then also there's always these community engagement opportunities where either it's education or it's trying to get feedback. And so it's not unusual for 2 or 3 times a month for us to be in our own districts getting information on how do you want this corridor to act. Or I was just at Waverly Gardens because County Road J, the roundabout's about to open, and we were making sure that the folks who live there have a good sense of when the road opens up again, how is best to ride and walk and drive through that area. So there's a lot of ways for you all to continually have conversations with how your communities are walkable and rideable and wheelable.
I'll just quickly add to that. Ramsey County, we also just adopted our All Abilities Transportation Plan for 2050 plan, and that really helps guide the work that we do, really with being able, whether you walk, bike, take transit, or drive. So I just want to add in that.
Thank you. And now for the fourth of our 4 specific issues that we're doing the rotation, we'll start with Commissioner Karowski and go around on this one. The fourth one is, what is your county doing regarding environmental issues? My wife wishes she could be here as the queen of trash. This was her favorite thing. That was actually a title she was given once, and she appreciated it. Environmental issues including waste, recycling, composting, reuse, and toxicity reduction. To you, Commissioner Karowski.
Okay. I'm going to mainly punt on this one because I didn't make the cut. I don't get to serve on the Energy and Recycling Board. But, I want to mention, though, Washington County, I think, working with Ramsey County, we're a real leader in this area. But I'm going to make one other plug. Land and Water Legacy Funding. We protect water in Washington County. We got beautiful St. Croix and Mississippi River. And then I wanted, before I pass it off on recycling energy, I used to serve on that, but we went to a joint powers, they cut it back. That's the one thing we all serve on. As Commissioner Miron pointed out, we serve on like as many as 18, 19 commissions or boards. We don't get on every one that we want. Everybody wants to be on recycling energy. Before I pass it off, though, I'm going to mention another interesting thing on our environment is the reuse rooms we have at our environmental centers to recycle rather than throw away paints. And also we have fix-it clinics, which we've partnered with Ramsey County. I'm going to pass this off to Commissioner Bigham.
Thank you. We stole that idea from Ramsey County because it was so successful, and it is very neat. So the Ramsey, Washington Recycling and Energy Center is in my district in Newport, and what we do there is we collect the trash of all Ramsey and Washington County. It's required by ordinance to go there, and we turn it into refuge derivative fuel, and we separate out the metals and recycling and food now. Those would they be Maplewood area?
I'll just add quickly that the northern suburbs are expected by 2026. So we know they're anxious, but not yet.
Yes. So for the food organics, we have the robots there that separate that out, and is right now for composting, soon to be anaerobic digestion. But the RDF is then trucked down to Red Wing and incinerated for energy. And so we divert waste out of our landfills, which is the best use to make sure it's not in our landfills. And we're proud of this, as Commissioner Karwoski said, that we are leaders in this area, and he's right. And I couldn't be more proud of the work we do. I'm the chair of the Finance and Facility Committee with Commissioner Miller. And Commissioner Miron is on the committee as well. He's the vice chair. I'll let him talk about his experience on that. But we just we're leaders in this area, and it's a big issue statewide is how we are going to process waste as landfills are becoming overrun, and some of them are being shut down. We have to come up with ways, innovative ways, sustainable ways. Anaerobic digestion is one of those ways, and so we are proud to be leaders in this area. So I think that is probably the highlight of that, and we wouldn't be where we are today without the leadership of former Ramsey County Commissioner Victoria Reinhardt. That's for damn sure. So.
I'm going to defer some of the questions because Commissioner Miller sits on that committee for Ramsey County. But I will say my father was a civil engineer and spent most of his life concerned about clean water. And so while this isn't all that we do, it is parts of what we do as far as coordinating with our partners. Ramsey County has their different watershed districts that are very active in making sure that our groundwater, our surface water, and our lakes and ponds and everything are acting as they should, and they're great partners. I'll also just say that in the Northeast Metro, there are a lot of municipalities that are dealing with planning for water in the future and water use, especially with issues around the lake levels and things like that. And that's something that I keep tabs on too, because it impacts how regionally we're thinking about housing developments and other kind of developments and how we're going to make sure to protect those resources. And I'm really very excited because one of the JDAs that I get to sit on is the Rice Creek Commons Joint Development Authority, and both the City of Arden Hills and Ramsey County have been very adamant in making sure that when that area is developed, that it is really leading the way in being setting environmental standards and energy standards and things like that, and how we're approaching that development. And so it's very exciting to have a clean slate to try and do something right, and to remind ourselves that was a remediation place. That was a place where there had to be a lot of environmental cleanup. So to flip that out on its head and say it can be a leader in how you can create new development is really exciting work.
So I'm just gonna add in, I'm not gonna repeat about the R&E, but we also have our new recycling and our new environmental center in Roseville, which is wonderful. And that's where residents can drop off the hazardous waste. We also have fix-it clinics, old electronics, and then the reuse room as well. And you can also bring your composting there. I think I wanna just mention like one issue that hasn't been brought up yet is the wood waste. We're still working on dealing with that. I think Washington has some great ideas, so I'll let you add on that. But also, we also have community, like a big part of this is education as well. So making sure that our staff and are able to communicate, like let's recycle. Here's where you can go. Here's where you can drop it off. Mattresses are 100% recyclable and free. So I don't know if people know that, but they are. And then also some of the funding opportunities that we have for brownfield cleanup sites, or as well as that we do have those small grants available too. So with that.
Commissioner Karwoski, mentioned a number of very important efforts that are going on in Washington County, and certainly, from a environmental standpoint, aquatic invasive species, we've received funding from the state government. We had an option to opt in on receiving that funding and managing the program at the county level. So we've been doing that type of work. Unfortunately, the legislature is reducing the funding for that at a time when really, more funding is needed. The program that Commissioner Karwoski mentioned, we have spent through the $20 million, and we've leveraged, in many cases, 4-to-1 on preserving natural areas and environmentally sensitive areas within Washington County. We're very, very proud of that. I happen to be privileged to serve on the Lower St. Croix One Watershed, One Plan. We've got some significant funding that comes through that organization, and we're partnering with our counties to the north, Watershed, Soil and Water Conservation District partners to the north in protecting the Lower St. Croix. In the northern areas of beyond Washington County to protect the water that comes through Washington County. So I'm excited about that work. I'm also privileged to serve on the Clean Water Council. I was appointed by the governor to the Water Council, a position that Commissioner Reinhardt held before. And, we oversee the legacy dollars and the programming that goes on throughout Minnesota in protecting the water there. So we're privileged to do that. We completed an environmental center in the northern part of Washington County, my district. So came on board just prior to Ramsey County's environmental center. That's our second environmental center in Washington County. So, we're excited about the support the full board has and the concern over public health and environment within Washington County, and that partnership has been really one of the glues that holds Ramsey and Washington County together and keeps us working.
Thank you. We're going to, I don't know, maybe it's the system or the microphone. We're going to hand that microphone down here, and we're going to see if it's batteries or something loose, and we'll get by with this one for a while. Well, thank you. We have now covered the major issues that county does. Now, we have about 12, 13 minutes left to cover 4 broad questions. So our format now changes for this because they're more broad and philosophical. It's wide open. Whoever wants to throw in and answer a question can come in. You can banter back and forth, but I will cut you off when I think we've used up enough time because we got to get through 4 in about 12 or 13 minutes. We're going to try this microphone.
Technology update. This is the antenna, so don't put your hand over the bottom.
Oh, okay, see, we need these detailed instructions for these futuristic George Jetson inventions that they're making us use nowadays. Back in my day, we had wires and we knew where it was going. So, with that, we're going to do this kind of wide open thing. We got microphones. Everyone who wants to start can start. Everybody can chime in, but let's do about 3 minutes, 4 minutes each on these. So the next one is, what are some of the challenges your county faces due to state mandates, and how have the federal funding cuts to the state impacted the county's ability to fund those mandated services? I'm sure you all have an opinion. Let's see what facts and other things you can throw in. Who wants to start?
So I actually didn't know these questions ahead of time. So this is one of my favorite questions to answer because I think it shocks a lot of people that over 80% of a county's budget is mandated spending by the federal or state government. So we actually have very little discretionary spending. And what hurts is when we don't get the flexibility needed to deal with the lack of funding to fulfill that program. And when it doesn't keep up with the growth, when it doesn't keep up with inflation, and then we're not allowed to make the changes on it. And so that struggle is real. So I'm going to clarify something like the SNAP. That's like top of everyone's mind. So for Washington County, we administer about $1.6 million in SNAP benefits every month. Okay. What the federal government did, they didn't actually cut SNAP. They shifted that. And so it's a problem because they get to wipe their hands of it and go on and pat themselves on the back and say, well, we didn't do that. You did. And so to the states and to the locals. And that shift means that either it's going to take, and the added requirements of every 6 months having to do the administrative checks and everything like that, means that people are going to get discouraged from applying. It's going to take longer to get the benefits. So either the counties have to hire more people, cost money, that means your levy's going up, or it's going to take longer, the wait period is going to take longer for people to get the food that they need. So neither one are good scenarios. So that is like, I'm just using a direct impact of what the realistic side of it is. Then I'm going to just rapid fire some facts about SNAP. The economic benefit of SNAP is undeniable. For example, it's our farmers, like our good friend here, Commissioner Miron, right? They grow the food, they produce the food, right? Then that food needs to be brought to our local small businesses that depend on that business to stay in business. You know, that's our local grocers, that's our co-ops, that's it. For every dollar of SNAP benefit, it's $1.50 to $1.80 return on investment. So the economic benefit of the SNAP program is undeniable. And so the Washington County appropriated a couple weeks ago $250,000 to our local food shelves to help with the increase, because the food shelves across the county were looking at a 30% increase. That was before the first of the month when the SNAP benefits were turned off. Then they were turned on, then they were turned off, and then there were court involvement, and no one knows what's going on. So that's kind of where we were at, and we needed to help we needed to step up and help. But I just told you, we administered 1.6 million, and we gave 250,000. So that math doesn't math to meet a match for match, right? So.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just jump in too and say that that really is talking about the bill that was passed this summer that's going to impact SNAP and Medicaid benefits. There's a bunch of structural changes as far as the additional mandates and the historical cost shift to the administrative costs onto the counties, but also with the shutdown, the chaos making, the amount of contingency planning, the amount of hours of having to figure out, well, if this, then that. And also just making, just to be really clear too, that because these are state and federally mandated programs that are administered by the county, we're also bound by a lot of really antiquated technology. And so one of the things that has been breaking my brain a little bit is when all of a sudden they decided to say, well, we'll only give 65% and then we'll retroactively give back blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, your systems won't allow that. It's either on or it's off. We don't have that kind of nuance. And so it's just a lot of back and forth. One of the things too is like Ramsey County, following some of our other counties, just passed $450,000 onto our local food shelves, and to supplement for formula for WIC as well. And to your point, from what I've heard from our food shelves, that one food shelf meal that somebody gets from food shelves is like equals 9 meals that are provided by SNAP. Yes. So there's no way that even if we had some benevolent donor come in, where is that 9 times the food, 9 times the volunteers, 9 times the refrigerators and shelf space to actually move that kind of product in a whole new way? That's what grocery stores are supposed to be for.
All right, anybody want to throw in a final comment before I move on to the next one? Are we ready to move on? Okay, so thoroughly done. Okay, now, next one is also kind of a clarifying real information versus information out there. And that is crime on the rise in your county? And if so, what is being done to address it? If it is not on the rise, what efforts do you believe helped to reduce the rate and or the seriousness of criminal activity? Who would like to dive in? Oh, I see we have a commissioner ready.
I do. Thank you. So crime and overall crime in Ramsey County is actually down. It's been, the sheriff's office just reported that it's a 28% decrease in overall crime compared to 2 years ago, including a 75% drop in murders and major reductions in auto theft. Some statistics that we have is overall crime rates in the county have decreased, like I said, by 28%, 75% decline in fatal shootings, 32% decline in robberies, 17% decline in aggravated assaults, 6% decline in burglaries, and 43% decline in auto theft. So this is really thanks to the coordinated efforts of the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, the Ramsey County Attorney's Office, local law enforcement, public health, social services, and community-based organizations working to transform our approach to public safety. So special initiatives include like our ARI, our Call for All, our SOS, and gun safety locks as well. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that too. So the ARI is our Appropriate Response Initiative, so that when you call 911 from anywhere in Ramsey County, it goes to the Ramsey County's 911 switchboard. And if somebody could be better served by substance abuse services counselor or public health or any other kind of group, that's the kind of service you get. The Call for All is if there's a domestic assault. We make sure that there is resources sent to the caller as well to make sure that we're also immediately wrapping them around with potential next steps to making sure that they're safe and start the healing process. Our sexual assault team is the SOS team to make sure that anybody who's experiencing that, again, is getting additional services. So all of these different initiatives go alongside of a broader public safety initiative. I also want to say I'm really happy with our youth justice transformation work that's been going on. It involves our courts, it involves community-based organizations, it involves our law enforcement, our county attorney's office to make sure that we treat kids like kids, and when they make mistakes, we help them grow.
I've always felt that public health and safety is our main charge as county commissioners, and I actually did a little bit of work on answering this question, so I'll share it and allow the other commissioners to fill in. But Group A crimes, which are a wide range of activities, including assault, fraud, homicide, they have dropped significantly in Washington County since 2022. 37.7 Group A crimes per 1,000 residents in 2022, 29.4 Group A crimes per 1,000 residents in 2023, and 25.6 Group A crimes per 1,000 residents in 2024. So we're seeing a very, very nice trend there. The Group B type crimes, the misdemeanor crimes and lower level offenses, is about steady over the past 3 years. We also have a much smaller daily census in our jail right now than in previous years, so I think that bodes well for what's happening in Washington County. You know, to accomplish those things, we're ensuring we have enough deputies on the road to respond to issues. And, you know, we've adjusted our pay scale and those types of things, particularly for deputies at the recommendation of our Sheriff Starry to make sure that we're competitive and we can keep deputies in Washington County. Our partnership between social services and law enforcement is helping. We have an embedded social worker with the deputies and the local police officers to ensure that we handle mental health issues and other crisis calls more appropriately than we have in the past. Our sheriff works very closely with city police departments. So in my district, the city of Forest Lake has their own police department, but the Washington County Sheriff also contracts for police protection in many of our communities, like the city of Hugo, as mayor for 20 years. And so, you know, we've got that strong connection. And it's not just the sheriff that's doing the work. We've got a fabulous county attorney as well. They're charging both adult and youth offenders when necessary, and that sends a message to those who might think they will not face consequences. So I'll let the other commissioners respond.
Good
Quickly.
job, Commissioner Miron. There's nothing left to handle. Hey, raise your hands if you would have thought both counties would have said crime is on the increase. Raise your hands. Wow. I think most people think crime is on the rise, and I think there's so much bad. I call it information. I call it information shows. All these cable shows are sensationalizing crime, and I still think both of you would have thought of where we mentioned crime is down in both counties. The serious violent crime is down in Washington County, and I want to point out in Washington County is to emphasize the attorney's role. The word on the street, especially with juveniles, that you're gonna get, that juvenile's gonna get help. Too often a juvenile is just released to go home, and they keep doing nuisance crimes or even serious crimes that lead to a really bad adulthood. But our attorney's office really makes it painful for that youth, for that they don't want to come back and they get some intervention into other programs. Yeah, I'm going to touch on just that, going back to the food thing. A lot of these food shelves have been stressed, even without SNAP. They've been stressed due to the inflation of food, so that's a factor. Also, on the news, these aren't people that are looking for a handout. These are people that are working that need a little bit of food, and all the children on SNAP. And anyhow, I'll pass it over to my cohort.
We've got a rush to this, so if you want to do the Reader's Digest version, and we're going to do a lightning round. Or are you done? Do you have anything to add?
I can pass.
All right. Here's the bottom line is we only have a couple of minutes. So it's going to be like each person, if they wish to throw in, it's a very personal reaction to these two questions. So it'll be very quick and simple. What is the most common complaint, common comment, or common compliment, if that ever happens, that you receive from a constituent? Wide open. Who wants to say a most common complaint or compliment or just telling you how to do your job?
I mean, I think Captain Obvious is taxes for complaint. When it comes to, I mean, because people don't understand who impacts what level of it, and then I think the most common compliment is the level of service. I think whether it's that our amazing staff gives. And that is whether it's our libraries, our parks, our license centers, our environmental centers, consistently get the highest remarks and customer service for our residents, our police. So I just think that's our highest compliment, our staff, and the remarkable work that they do. And no one likes to pay taxes.
Anybody else want to throw something in here?
I just want to add that I just want to acknowledge to everybody who does any constituent services, whether it's as commissioners, whether it's as frontline staff, whether it's our staffs who are in our offices, you hear people really talking about really vulnerable moments in their lives. It's tremendously emotionally taxing. And I will say that it is really rewarding to know that our staff really follow up and make sure that people get connected to the services that they need, that the supports are followed through with, and then they take those stories home with them. So it's a big job to hold the responsibility of people's connections to very essential services. And I just want to thank everybody, because I know there are staff here who have some point in their lives done that work, and you cannot thank those folks enough for holding those stories and making sure those connections get made.
I'm going to bring up elections. Counties run elections. That's a topic that we get a lot of complaints or a lot of compliments. I think the vast majority are compliments on how well and how ethical and how studious the election judges are, and they're so thankful for our process in Minnesota. But at the same token, in recent years, we've got people that are into conspiracy theories, making things up about elections. That's really unfortunate. So that topic, election, both gets complaints and compliments.
Okay, I'm going to just go into our last question because we're just about out of time. This is one where you can kind of do a 15 to 20 second, what is it, if anything? And the bottom line is being married to an insomniac. I appreciate the question. What aspects of your job keep you awake at night? So jump in there. What keeps you awake at night?
You know, I run on 6 hours of sleep at night. I go to bed at 11 and I get up at 5. Commissioner Bingham pointed out that I'm a farmer, so we've got dairy cows, and I'm out in the barn every morning, and I'm out there at night. The other night I got home from a meeting. It was about 8 o'clock, and my son's had a motor that went bad on a roller mill, and I worked till midnight to get that fixed and get that back in. So when I go to bed, I'm so tired, nothing keeps me awake.
Well, I think about a lot of different things. I'm also a night owl, so I'm kind of like my predecessor. I'm up all night. But I think of families, I think of seniors, I really think of, I come from the social service delivery on the groundwork, so I really think of the impact that our services have on families. Are they working? How can we be better? How can we do better for them? I also think about, as a new commissioner, like how do we balance the budget? How do we make sure that we're meeting the needs of our community? And I will throw in there, I've never thought so much about how to increase the tax base than I have in the last 6 months.
I've got one as far as what keeps me awake. Budget concerns, helping people more. How can we help people more? How can we as a county communicate better? But I've always had this saying that when you're elected and you try to put your best foot forward and you can go and put your head on the pillow and know you've done the right thing and always been honest to people and you have good night's sleep. So I stay up late, I get up early, and I sleep really good. So thanks.
I would say what keeps me up at night is I come from the mental health background as an advocate, and it's the care and custody, the people who are in our care and custody, whether that's through our child protective services, whether that's through our juvenile detention services or adult detention services, is there are a number of individuals who unfortunately are being served through those systems rather than the appropriate and timely response to substance use disorders and mental health and behavioral disorders. And so it's how do we create systems as a broader ecosystem, not just at the county, to make sure people are getting the treatment that they need at the time that they need it so that they're not sucked into these systems.
I don't know if it keeps me up at night, but I think what keeps me going is, I have such faith and hope in people. And I think nothing has made that more, just reiterated that more than the last couple weeks. The incredible turnout of people to help our food shelves, to help people in need, is honestly something that I don't think I have seen in my 20 years of being in public, either in an elected or appointed office. I have such faith in our board in doing the right thing that I think that it doesn't keep me up at night. I have the amazing staff that we have and the leadership we have, knowing that they do the best they can with what they have, making the right decisions. The fact that they were ready to go when they knew what was happening with the federal government gave me such faith that the people of Washington County should have faith. And, I'm a spiritual person, and I have faith in the guy upstairs that we're going to get through this and these uncertain times and the chaos. But coming together as community is really what has given me the hope and the strength to. It's why we do this. I think it's why each and every one of us do this. And so that's really been very much on my mind the last few weeks.
Well, thank you. Now that's the formal questions. We do have a few minutes for audience questions. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Becky, and she will go around to see who wants it, and then we're going to only have about 4 or 5 minutes of this, and then they're going to kick us out of the library. So here she is. Raise your hand.
All right, while you guys are thinking about your questions, I have one comment or one compliment and one question. Thank you all for the food scraps program. The pickup at your house thing, brilliant idea. I don't know where it came from, but I love it. Oh, yeah. Let's give it up for Victoria again. It's such an awesome program. And secondly, hopefully the Gateway Trail starting at 694 and running into St. Paul is scheduled to be resurfaced, because I don't even ride my bike on that thing anymore. It is so bad. Like it's going to destroy my bike. So hopefully somebody's looking at redoing that. Okay, so selfish of me, I know, but I got the mic. Yes, okay. So who's got a question? Raise your hand, and we got one mic to pass around.
You'll have to share all this.
Both counties, what are you doing proactively to gain sufficient knowledge for and perhaps prepare for some kind of rules and regulations vis-a-vis data centers?
That's not a county issue, but okay. All right. We only have the one microphone now, but we can bring this back. That sounds like a city issue more than county, but you can explain all that.
So we don't have local zoning or planning authority in Washington County. As been said, we do shoreline and mining, and that's only in townships. And so that is a city issue. But I mean, I don't know if there's much more to add. I don't think we've had any discussions in Washington County on data center issues, and I haven't had, in my 2 townships, I have Gray Cloud Island and Denmark Township. They would not, I don't believe, would have them there, permitted there, so.
It is an issue that's come up at the Minnesota Inter-County Association, which I happen to serve on the board of. And as we look at our legislative agenda, the question is, should data centers be controlled? Should the legislature intervene? Obviously, there's continued interest in the water usage from data centers, and also the electrical usage from data centers, and how that might impact, our ability to have those local services. So, but obviously they present jobs, economic development as well, and we all need data. Commissioner Bingham talked a lot about our IT infrastructure and the need to protect that, and data centers are a part of that as well. So there is an ongoing discussion. Dakota County, I just talked today with a Dakota County commissioner about a data center that was built there, and his comment to me was, these are really small-time operations here in Minnesota compared to other areas of the country. So
I will just add in that we have not heard anything at the county level of any being built in Ramsey County. Ramsey County is 98, or it's almost 100% developed, so there's not much where we can build currently in Ramsey County as well.
All right, there's been great discussion about the things the county does do. I do want to ask and stay grounded that this is budget time. I would like to ask, in this day and age where it's difficult for folks to make ends meet and county taxes are going up. Last year I attended the December meeting at Ramsey County, and the numbers were anywhere from 10, 12, 23%, which I was at. You told us what you do. Can you tell us what you are not going to do to help keep property taxes down? How are you making decisions about funding core priority services versus nice to have services. And if you could give me an example, that'd be great.
Oh, no, you.
I was going to say, well, so in Ramsey County, one of the things that was directed by our county manager was to make sure that each of the department heads were looking at county responsible services, so really honing in on those mandated services, things that either we're mandated to do or nobody else is doing, and that's part of our kind of moral covenant as far as the work that we do at the county. Some of the things that were really painful, we're sitting in a library right now. We are restricting a day of the library and one of our library systems that's a large library system in Shoreview as a way of cutting back a little bit in order to make sure that services were available throughout the county. It's a real pain point. It's in my district, and libraries are such a key part of our services, but it's one of those, if we can't, not all libraries are open every day of every week. But that was one way of coming a pain point back. We're also looking at closing our detox center, which, looking at that is there are other systems that we think medically can handle that more appropriately, but also sustainably. It was not something that we could financially do in a sustainable way. So those are a couple of real, very specific program retractions that we've been doing.
This is have to be our last comment. The library will start making closing announcements very shortly, so go ahead and answer.
Well,
your comment.
just with respect to taxes, Washington County is a growing county, so our tax base is continuing to grow, as does our budget. We focused a lot on tax rates since I've been on the board. And so I think what's important is not so much whether or not the levy is going up, but what is the impact to me personally in my taxes? Commissioner Bingham, said that's the one big complaint we have. So, but because of the growth in Washington County, we've got added value each and every year. And so even with a growing levy and additional services that we need to provide that people are asking for, we've been able to keep our tax rate relatively flat. And, that has really been good. But it's a different story when you're in a fully developed county like Ramsey County. It's much more difficult to use those strategies. So each of us as a county have to strategize. We know that taxes affect affordability, right? I mean, we talked about affordable housing, workforce housing. Property taxes affect that. We talked about, the limited income and the need for supplemental nutrition. Taxes affect that. It takes away income that people could otherwise be utilizing to meet their family needs. So we're cognizant of it.
I just want to add one data fact. For every dollar of property taxes, the county gets 20 cents. So the remaining 80 cents is split between the city and the city, the school district, and then there's a teeny tiny amount for watershed and mosquito control and Met Council. And so really when you think about it's difficult when you have smaller parcels to spread that money out over like a city, like a school district, where Washington County we have many more parcels to spread that out. That's why the tax rate is a more a direct impact on your personal taxes than a levy amount is.
Thanks, everybody. I think we're going to have to leave it there. Let's give everybody a big round of applause. Thank you for coming. One thing that I'd like to say that I hope all of you got was I didn't realize how much the counties work together. I think that's awesome. Really great to see. That is it for the public programs for the League of Women Voters for 2025. Our next public meeting will be in February. The library will be closing in 10 minutes. If anyone is able to stay and help put the chairs and tables back in the storage room, that would be awesome. Thanks again for coming.